Excessive speed and lack of ski control is the most common cause for a bad spill. The result of this will often mean a painful sprain or a bruise to the trooper. Let us take this particular case to demonstrate the treatment of a slight knee sprain. After his spill, the skier tests his leg to determine the extent of its injury. Unless ordered to do so, the ski trooper should not travel alone, for unless he can receive first aid treatment, a serious accident may mean his life. Fortunately for this injured skier, a nearby trooper, having observed the accident, comes to his aid. The first aid kit is removed from the skier's rucksack, and the trooper helps him to his feet. If the knee is sprained, the usual point that is sensitive to pressure is on the inside just below the knee joint. If the skier has full control of his leg, it is only necessary to tape the sprain to prevent further injury. Sprains are caused by the tearing of ligaments that hold the bones in their joints. The purpose of the tape is to supply artificial external ligaments to replace the injured ones. Taping is a mechanical job, and the trooper undertaking it should visualize the problem in terms of replacing the injured ligaments. Also, taping is done under tension. Start the tape approximately 8 inches above the knee, holding the top end down and pulling the remainder of the strip taut before taping it on the leg. The second strip of adhesive is applied in the same manner as the first and is crossed over the tape for the purpose of retaining the proper leg tension as well as to keep the knee joint in line. Small anchor tapes are put on the upper and lower ends of the longitudinal strips. The same taping procedure is repeated on the inside of the knee. The method of taping, as you have seen it, permits the normal bending of the knee and still provides adequate external support to the injured ligaments and does not prevent the indispensable minimum movement of the knee joint, which is so necessary for skiing. After the injured knee has been taped, the skier should rise. He then tests his leg, puts his ski on, and tries moving with it. If the sprain is too severe, he should be transported back to camp. Otherwise, he may return carefully under his own power. In another case of a sprain, this ski trooper has suffered an injury to his ankle. The patrol leader is examining it to determine the severity of the injury. If the skier has full control of his foot and the sensitive spot is below the ankle bone, it is probably just an ankle sprain. Notice that the patrol leader places the strips of tape across the barrel of his rifle to prevent them from becoming tangled or falling in the snow. The handle of a ski pole can also serve the same purpose. In an injury of this nature, the patient assists the patrol leader in taping his own ankle and pulls his foot toward the shin bone as far as possible to obtain tension. 2 strips of tape are put around the foot and back of the ankle bone and anchored on the calf of the leg. Next, the 2 strips of adhesive are taped down one side of the calf, under the foot, and back up the other side of the leg. Two smaller strips of tape are placed under the ball of the foot and fastened on the top of the instep. An anchor tape is attached around the calf of the leg. A second anchor tape goes slightly above the ankle. Do not apply anchor tape completely around the leg. This precaution will prevent swelling due to impaired circulation. The skier, having only a moderate ankle sprain, gets to his feet and tests his ankle. He discovers that it is able to bear sufficient weight to allow him to ski carefully back to camp. Yet, in spite of all precautionary measures, ski patrol units operating on routine missions, training for combat duty or in actual military action, are bound to have accidents. When accidents such as this bad spill occurs, a ski trooper's life will often depend upon his fellow troopers' knowledge of first aid and their ability to think and act quickly. Here, the members of the patrol stop and return to the injured trooper's assistance. If there is any doubt whether the victim is suffering from a broken bone or a sprain, the injury should always be treated as a break. In this case, intense pain and the loss of control of the injured skier's leg indicates a broken bone. The patrol leader carefully detaches the ski from the injured leg, while one trooper removes the ski from the other foot. The third member of the patrol takes off the fallen skier's rucksack and sets about to make him as comfortable as possible. After the injured trooper's equipment has been removed, the patrol leader takes the tent section and sleeping bag from the patient's rucksack. The tent section is spread on the snow to be used as a ground covering. The sleeping bag is unrolled over this to insulate the injured trooper's body from the cold. The trooper is carefully lifted onto the sleeping bag. Extreme caution must be used in handling the injured leg to prevent any tearing of the flesh and muscles by the jagged edges of the broken bone. A rucksack is placed under the trooper's head for added comfort and support. Towels and bandages are pulled out from the rucksack and laid on the ground cover. It is of the utmost importance that warm clothing, such as heavy sweaters or even a sleeping bag, should be placed over the injured skier. Warmth to his body is essential in order to prevent shock after such an accident. A patrol first aid kit is removed from the rucksack, and another tent section is laid over the trooper. A tent section may be rigged up with skis and ski poles for support to form a windbreak. To refresh the injured man, it is advisable to give him a few sips of water from the canteen. The first step toward emergency treatment is to fold the diagonal bandage into a cravat. Note that the injured leg is treated without removing the trooper's trousers, as a precautionary measure to avoid all unnecessary movement and to protect him from the cold and any additional shock. The bandage is carefully passed around the injured leg. It is then worked up to the groin, and the ends are tied in a loose loop at the hip. Leave loose ends 8 to 10 inches long and work the top of a ski pole into a fold of the loop at the knot. Secure the ski pole in this position by lashing the top of the pole with the ends of the bandage. Two bandages are then wrapped in opposite directions around the ankle to form a traction hitch for the foot. Draw the ends of the bandages downward and tie them firmly to the ring of the ski pole. At this stage of treatment, the greatest possible care must be used in handling the injured man's leg. All unnecessary movement must be avoided. During the application of the traction, an assistant exerts a steady, firm pull on the injured leg. The slack in the traction bands is taken up by twisting the bandages with a short stick. The object of traction is to line up the bones and prevent their jagged edges from cutting the flesh, nerves, and arteries adjacent to the injury. A traction binding is only used if the accident occurs at a great distance from the main base camp, and the services of a medical detachment soldier are not obtainable. The additional bandages prevent the leg from sagging at the break. Mittens or socks are used as padding to prevent unnecessary chafing of the leg against the ski poles. It is advisable to have all knots on the outside of the splints to facilitate tying and untying and to eliminate further chafing or pressure against the trooper's leg. Note that mittens or other woolen garments are also used on the side splint. The ski poles are used as splints along the outer and inner sides of the leg. A bandage is carefully worked through the ski poles and around the underside of the leg to form a cradle, which will securely hold the injured leg in suspension between the ski poles. A heavy sock or mitten is placed between the legs and the inside splint. Now, the ends of the bandages are pulled to raise the leg in suspension, with the sock acting as a cushion to lessen whatever friction comes from the side splint. By properly using the material at hand, you thus see how a protective traction splint can be made in case of emergency while in the field. Ski climbers are used to further immobilize the leg by binding it to the uninjured one. Additional woolen garments are placed over the legs to provide warmth and prevent chafing from further binding. They too are secured by ski climbers. Finally, a sleeping bag is used to cover the trooper's body in order to keep him warm, as the splinting and bandaging reduces the normal circulation of the blood, and the injured leg is in danger of freezing unless it is well insulated against the cold. The injured ski trooper is now ready to be transported back to camp. Every member of the ski patrol must take precautionary measures to avoid frostbite and freezing while traveling in a blizzard or sub-zero weather. Feel the exposed parts of your face from time to time. If they have become numb, warm these parts with your hands. Your hands are most important to you, so move your fingers inside your mittens as much as possible. A trick in avoiding frostbitten toes is to wiggle them with each step. Also, at short intervals, look at your fellow trooper's face for the telltale white spots which indicate freezing. In traveling long distances, it's important that ski troopers guard against excessive fatigue. Whenever possible, the patrol leader should give the men a 10-minute rest out of each hour. Mild frostbite at the tip of the fingers may be avoided by swinging the arms in a circle vigorously to drive the blood by centrifugal force into the fingertips. Frostbitten fingers may be warmed by removing the mittens and placing the fingers under the armpits next to the skin.